Hello and welcome to the Rope Break Wrestling Podcast. I'm here with Dan. This is our new podcast, and obviously it's going to cover all wrestling. So it's been mad because the last time you and me met or done the podcast, Edge had, jumped to AEW, and all that has sort of happened while we've been off. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy. Obviously, we're going to talk the current. So, CM Punk back in WWE. So I think that's the big sort of talking point, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, did you watch the press conference after it where Triple H was like, "Look,
no."
So in the press conference afterwards, Triple H went, "Look, I think there's only one place to start. Really, look, it's the massive elephant in the room. We need to talk about the massive return. R-Truth's back." Oh my god, it was so funny, so funny. And do you know what?
Yeah.
Just briefly before we do, obviously, because it's going to end up taking up pretty much the whole show, as anything related to CM Punk usually does. But it was nice that to see R-Truth back, and he's got a special relationship with the fans' truth. Like you could genuinely feel how happy they were that he were back, because I feel like you've only really got R-Truth and Akira Tozawa, who are barely used, who bring that raw comedy element.
Yes.
Every single time R-Truth and Akira Tozawa on TV, you're laughing at them, and I don't think they used enough. I mean, R-Truth's like the only person to make Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman break character, because he's just so funny. But yeah, the kind of is only one place to start, and that is obviously me and you did the podcast bloody hell, nearly 2 years ago, and it was the day after WrestleMania, and both of us said, now Cody Rhodes has returned at WrestleMania, anything is now possible. And me and you, the first name both of us said was CM Punk. The return that most WWE fans wanted, that we've all said for the last almost a decade would never happen. When Cody Rhodes returned, we said, well, now you can never say that it won't happen. And obviously, nearly 2 years later, and we're here. In fact, no, it's nearly 3 years later, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of an own goal, really, because considering he was how big he was in AEW, I think they should have sorted the problem out. You don't get rid of someone who's won your top star, and regardless of how you believe he is in AEW and all of that, he was their top star. Most people tuned in each week to watch CM Punk. He was the top merchandise seller as well, and he was like sort of at the top of the bill sort of thing. So it's a bit strange. It's a bit like getting how big Austin got in the year 2000.
Yeah.
How it's a bit like getting Austin at the top of his game, top merchandiser, massive, and then getting rid of him out of the company. You know what I mean? I can't understand why they couldn't sort it out in AEW. Why they couldn't just sit around a table and say, "Look, we're fucking grown men here. Let's sort this out." And that didn't happen. And I think it was inevitable that it was going to end up in WWE, back to WWE, because I think once you've left the company like that, and you've got to think as well, Punk pissed all over WWE. He crapped all over him when he left. I mean, he slated them left, right, and centre. But I think when he went back to AEW, the spark came back.
Yeah,
something he was missing has come back clearly.
Yeah,
and
however
you look at it, whether you love or hate Punk, it's a good move.
His money. Look, I see the thing. Look, this might prove to be bollocks. Who knows? But I read a thing yesterday that really made me go, holy shit. Yesterday, the tickets went on sale for AW All In, If you went last year, which me and my girlfriend did, you get priority for this year. So we were looking at tickets yesterday, and I seen a post after it that was really interesting, and it just goes to show what you've been saying for the last 4 or 5 years since AEW became a thing, really. And it said that the projected ticket sales for All In this year, with Adam Copeland, Edge being there, he obviously wasn't last year, with Bryan Danielson, he had a broken arm last year and weren't there. Them two weren't on the show last year. They're there. Yet the projected ticket sales could be up to 20,000 less than what it was last year. And there's only one reason for that. There's no CM Punk there anymore. So that's the biggest slap in the face of what CM Punk brings. That means the 82,500 tickets that they sold last year, 20,000 of them was only there because CM Punk was there.
Yeah.
It's the guys.
I think
whether you love him or hate him, whether you love him or hate him, he is a superstar.
Yeah, because of how he was brought, how he left WWE, how he was in WWE. I mean, the pipe bomb is still talked about now, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still the most controversial thing going, and people still talk about it. So yeah, he's money at the moment because he's been away for so long. I mean, do you remember when he came back in AEW? Everyone went absolutely like crazy. There was people crying in the crowd. He came back, and then slowly problems started to occur. People didn't like him. You know, I've said this before in the podcast. You know, if you don't like someone, I don't like some people at my work. You get on with the job. You know what I mean? You sort of say, you know what? You know, I don't have to see you after work, so you know while I'm at work, that's fine. You know what I mean? You do your job, regardless if you like the person or not. You know what I mean? But I think it just boiled up and went a bit overboard, which obviously resulted in Punk going, which I think was a little bit unnecessary, but in doing so has damaged AEW. Obviously, when Edge, when Edge went there, everyone was like, "Oh, great, Edge," but it hasn't moved the needle. And you know, Roman was right when, you know what I mean. None of them, apart from Punk. I don't care how you think. You know, the Young Bucks, Omega, they're absolutely brilliant, out of this world, right?
Yeah.
But like what Roman Reigns said, they're not needle movers. No. And I really don't like saying that about Daniel Bryan and Edge and people like that, because I think they deserve it. But it really does show that they're just not.
Yeah.
And I'm watching AEW, and I'm sort of watching AEW, and go on.
No, I was literally just about to say we're not sat here saying Edge isn't a needle mover. We love him. Like, me and you can wax lyrical about him and talk poetry about him until the bloody cows come home. To me and you, Edge is an absolute legend who, for us, is a needle mover to us. But when you look at the wrestling business as a whole, he never has been and never will be a Rock, an Austin, a Cena, an Orton. You know, obviously, God rest him, but have a look at Bray Wyatt and the merch numbers that he made. Like, CM Punk is in a very, very small category of people who it doesn't matter whether you love him or hate him. I personally love him. I was a teenage boy when Punk was at his height, and you can't help but when you're a teenage boy and you're a wrestling fan, CM Punk becomes your hero. You want to be him. You know, he was the coolest thing. You know, but there are a lot of people who hate him. He is Marmite, but nobody can take away from the fact that the guy brings in money and he brings in numbers that you're talking Rock and Cena level ratings, reviews, merch numbers, ticket sales. Is his name is one of the biggest stars in the world. Like, but when his music hit at Survivor Series, I just finished it, and about 20 minutes later, my mate Colin, he'd finished it, and he messaged me saying, you know, as cool as it was that he's back, and as happy as I am that he's back, I'm absolutely fuming and I'm angry and I'm just really disappointed that he didn't get in the ring. His music hit, he walked to the top of the stage, and 60 seconds later it ended. Like why bring him back that way? And I started laughing because literally 5 minutes before I received that text message, I turned around to Bex and I said, I guarantee there will be people that are pissed off that they've brought him back to see him for 60 seconds. And I'm like, but you leave the people wanting more. People are now going to tune in to Raw to see him.
Yeah.
But also the second side of it, when you've got a star the size of CM Punk, that's all you need. You don't need to do something, because like to get him into the ring or to have him to cut a promo or to get him to attack someone, you do that to try and like build something or to try and like build the character or get them over. CM Punk couldn't be any more over, and it was in Chicago. Like, the only thing that you need to do in that situation, hit that motherfucking music. That's all you need to do. Hit the music and have him walk out.
Yeah,
and let the fans go ape shit.
Yeah, I mean, WWE just posted actually on their social media that CM Punk's return is the most viewed social media in terms of YouTube, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. Yeah, all that sort of stuff in WWE history, right?
Yeah, but
and like you say, he was only out for like 30 seconds, and more people have viewed that than anything else that WWE has ever done, ever.
But
so that just goes to show.
I'm surprised, though. I'm surprised, because I'm not.
No, I'm not. No, totally not surprised. The thing is as well, right, is building up to CM Punk, there was a massive will they won't they thing. There was huge thing. The last couple of weeks has been building up. There's been a few things in the background WWE TV have said, like clobbering time and little bits, like they did with Bray Wyatt, little bits in the background. And then
and Cody.
And then WWE, and then the guys that made Cult of Personality, they released the day before Chicago, they released an updated version of his song.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, why have they updated it all of a sudden? And then obviously at the pay-per-views, they always do a commemorative wrestling belt. It's a mini belt. And on the back of the commemorative one this time, it was obviously Survival Series. On the back, though, was obviously the Chicago flag, which is obviously Punk's stars.
Yeah.
So all these little signs, and then I remember someone saying, actually, I've been reading loads of posts about it just before Survival Series, and they were saying that if he didn't turn up at Survival Series, it's either the biggest coup that WWE has ever done, and if he does turn up, it's the biggest signing they've ever had.
Yeah.
And obviously he turned up, but like you said, it was genius to do it at the end, because I think there was lots of speculation because Randy hadn't turned up.
Yeah.
And so everyone was backstage going, where is he? And everyone was like, oh, here we go. CM Punk's going to come out instead of Randy Orton. And then Randy come out, and there was a huge pop for him. Like the crowd went nuts. And then everyone was like, okay, well, this is over. And then Punk's music hit, and the whole place just blew up. And it was just, I think the right way they did it. They did it the right way. They did it the right way because, like you said, he came out for 30 seconds. He went like this, and then everyone was like, well, come on, what? I want more.
Yeah, but you leave the people more. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but like I said, it was funny because 5 minutes before Colin messaged me saying, I'm pissed off that he didn't do anything, I literally turned around to Bex and I said, there will be a lot of people that are annoyed that he was literally on your TV for 60 seconds, 90 seconds max. From his music hitting to going off air, you had like 90 seconds of Punk. But then more people are going to tune into Raw because you're going to want to see him do something because he didn't do anything at Survivor Series. But when you're a star of that magnitude and it's a return like that, you don't need to do anything. Like, you don't need to attack someone. You don't need to cut a promo on the night that you return, because you're already over. The only thing that you need is your music to hit. You walk out and the fans go ape shit. That's it. That's, you know, you don't need any more than that. But if you read what Sean Ross Sapp said from Fightful, only 4 people knew about it, and that's how it was kept secret. It was only 4 or 5 days before Survivor Series that Triple H and CM Punk had a phone call. Up until that point, nothing was happening. And that's what Triple H said in his press conference. He said, what's really funny is when you look back at the timeline of it, over the last couple of months, when everyone was talking about it and it was speculation, that's all it was. It was just speculation. When everyone was saying CM Punk's going to go back at Survivor Series because it's in Chicago, it was like, at that point, we hadn't even had a conversation. We hadn't spoke. Nothing had happened. And then because nothing had happened, like 4 or 5 days before the event, no one was talking about it, and everyone had kind of accepted. And if you read a lot of the more respected wrestling journalists, they were all saying it wasn't going to happen. He said, and like Triple H sat there reading it, like 4 days before, all these top journalists, even Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful, going, everything we've heard is that it isn't happening, Punk's not there. And Triple H is like, it fucking is. I've just fucking signed him 2 minutes ago. But But so apparently, the only person CM Punk told was AJ Lee. Obviously, it's his wife. You know, fair enough. And the only person that Triple H told apparently was Nick Khan. He didn't even tell Stephanie. He didn't tell Stephanie. He didn't. You know, the whole production team, the whole of creative, none of them knew. 2 minutes before the end of the War Games match, Triple H completely took over calling everything, and he was like, "Right, I've not got time for you asking me questions. We've not got time for you freaking out and going what." CM Punk's about to walk into the gorilla position in a minute. And the whole creative production was like, what the And then CM Punk walks through. He stood there in the gorilla, like, right, Cody's music's playing, Michael Cole, say your stuff, you know, say your thanks for joining us, goodbye. Right, put the copyright logo in the bottom corner, make everyone think it's ending. Right, it is music, bitch. You know, it was done to perfection. And what you were saying earlier about Randy, that is exactly why because I was annoyed last week when at the end of it they announced that Randy's coming back by Cody just saying it on a mic and Randy wasn't there, and I was a little bit annoyed because I was a bit like, well, like, this is one of the greatest of all time. He's been gone for nearly 2 years. His injury was that bad. A lot of us felt like he'd never wrestle again. Like if you go back 6 months, every single WWE medical official were all saying he's more likely to never wrestle again because he's having to have double spinal fusion surgery. Like, and even if he does get cleared to wrestle, to do a bit of wrestling, well, his RKO involves him landing on his back. Like, is he even going to be able to take that bump constantly by hitting the RKOs? You know, there was all these questions, and we didn't know that he'd ever wrestle again. And I mean, the guy, find me someone who doesn't love Randy Orton. Find me a wrestling fan who doesn't love Randy Orton. He's incredible, you know. So I was annoyed that they kind of like ruined his return a little bit by just doing that and not being there. But it worked out so well because then at the start of War Games, when you've got Sami Zayn saying to Jey Uso, "I've just spoke to Cody and he can't get hold of Randy. He's rang him. He hasn't answered his phone. He's not here yet." And Jay's going, "I told Randy. I'm the guy that put him through the table and nearly ended his career. He's not going to turn up and help us, is he?" And then, but what was really interesting is if you go back and rewatch the pay-per-view, whenever they were teasing it, you'd have the fans going, "Oh, CM Punk," and chanting Punk, thinking, "Oh, Randy's not going to be there. It's going to be Punk as the 5th member." But then you'd have them chanting Randy again. Then it'd be the Punk chant again. Then it'd be they didn't have a clue up until Randy's music hitting. They did not have a clue whether it was going to be Punk or Orton. And then when Orton's music hits and he comes out, everyone was so happy to see Randy because everyone loves him. You kind of forgotten. Well, you know, in the back of your head, you're thinking, well, it's Randy, so it isn't Punk. Punk's not there. But I did see a thing, and I'd already said this to Bex, and I was glad I was proven right. I seen a TikTok thing of a guy who was very, very fortunate to be in the crowd on Saturday night, and he was there, and he said, we Chicago locals can be very, very arrogant sometimes, especially when it comes to CM Punk. And all of us, he said, I went out getting myself a hot dog and a beer, and there was hundreds of us there queuing up, and we were all saying the same thing: CM Punk isn't here, because if anyone's going to know if CM Punk's here, it's us. We're his people. This
Yeah.
is Chicago. He's never lived anywhere else in the world but Chicago. He's our god, you know, because he is in Chicago. CM Punk is a god,
Yeah.
and they're all there going. We'd know. Like, come on. If CM Punk's here, we would know, and they didn't. None of them knew.
No.
You know,
It's
you couldn't have done
like
that.
you're saying. Yeah, you couldn't have done it any better, and it's money. The thing is now is where does he go? Where's he going to fit in? There's loads of stuff going on at the moment.
It'll be a F, won't it?
You know, I don't even think there's a pay-per-view now until the Royal Rumble. I think that's the next pay-per-view. Normally we have one in December. I don't think we've got a pay-per-view. I don't think we've got a premium live event in December. So I think the next one is the Royal Rumble. So I think there's going to be a big build-up now to the Rumble.
Yeah, 2 months build-up.
So it's going to be interesting to see
Seth and Punk, I think.
Do you reckon?
I mean, do you know what, though, mate? And everyone's been saying this. I'm not going to take credit and say I'm a genius. No.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying this. Isn't it interesting that, you know, Seth Rollins has been one of the best wrestlers on the planet in the last 10 years, and yet he's never main evented at WrestleMania. CM Punk left the company, and the number one reason why he left was because in 2010, 2011, something like that, he was fuming because he was the first person in years that knocked Cena off the top merch seller spot for that year. He was champion virtually all of that year. He had the best year out of everyone, and yet he didn't main event Mania. And the one thing that he wanted was to main event Mania, and that was the biggest thing that pissed him off. If he'd have main evented that WrestleMania, I don't think he'd have ever left. I think all the other shit that winded him up would have got sorted out. He was fuming that he'd not main evented Mania, and then the year after, he kind of knew that if he's not going to main event it that year, he never is. And it's interesting that a decade later, he's going to come back, and probably the main event of either night 1 or night 2 is probably going to be Seth versus Punk. So they've both got the win.
And then it's going to be it's going to be Cody versus Roman.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he said the story isn't ended yet. Roman's still got the belt. So, yeah, they could do that. It's going to be so, like, it's like we've hit a period now where it's getting interesting now. We've got loads going on. But I still want to touch on AEW. QT Marshall has just announced he's resigned.
Yeah. That's been coming for ages, hasn't it?
It's I don't know what they're doing over there. It's sort of, I find sometimes I watch the product and I kind of think it's good, but then they do some other really strange stuff. They put matches together that are random. There's quite a lot of slip-ups in the matches as well. And I kind of feel like they were the alternative. That's what made them good. You know, WWE was sports entertainment, storylines. AEW was the wrestling side. It concentrated less on the stories, more on the wrestling. But I find that over the last couple of months, it's sort of drifted more to like the entertainment stuff, which they can't do, I don't think, because they need writers and they need proper storylines and stuff like that, which they've got, but not really. And I kind of look at AEW now and I kind of feel like they're sort of self-destructive. I don't know why they're doing this. So you get rid of Punk. I haven't really used there's a lot of changes going on. There's people leaving. They've gone up twice now against WWE. Like, you could have chose any other time. Why would you put, you know, they went up at the same time slot, or I think it was Collision and Rampage against SmackDown, and got absolutely absolutely mullered in the ratings. And then they done it the week later with Survival Series. They put a 3-hour show on, which was Rampage the first hour, then Collision on the Saturday. And it's like, are you self-destructing yourself? Are you really don't want, you know what I mean? It doesn't seems like the passion, for me anyway, watching AEW, it seems like the passion has gone. And watching it is a bit like going back in time. It's a bit like watching WCW in 2000. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of these like just weird things that happened, and it's like, really? And then you look at WWE, and they are on fire. The great thing about AEW came along at the right time when WWE was in the shit, and we all know that. We all said it. You know, Vince McMahon was off his nut, changing people's names. Where it was just crazy, wasn't it? It was a nuts time. Like the geriatric had taken over, and he was like losing his mind, and it was happening live on telly. And it was a crap product. AEW coming along, everyone went batshit crazy. Then obviously a TK thing come over, and Triple H took over. And since then, WWE is on another level. You can't even. I'm sorry, but WWE is on a absolute another level at the moment.
It's in a
no one can
league
touch
anything
them.
else.
Yeah. I don't think AEW was ever going to get into WWE's league, and WWE isn't there to destroy AEW like most people think. But you know, I think AEW needs to up their game a little bit.
I'm sure they will do. But can I just say something though? This whole Punk thing, in him leaving AEW, right? Like Jim Cornette. I'm not a massive fan of Jim Cornette. I'll be honest. I feel like most people either like Russo and not Cornette, or like Cornette and not Russo. Yeah. Each to their own. I think both of them are absolutely full of shit, to be honest. Like, they're just both attention-seeking.
Well, not only that, I think they haven't moved with the times, and they still think wrestling should be the way that they did wrestling back in the 80s and 90s and whatever. Yeah, and it's changed too much to do that. So I think that's where they come unstuck.
I find Russo less weird. I find Jim Cornette very bizarre. He's very weird. Look, don't get me wrong. Sometimes he can say some stuff, and I'm like, wow, like, do you know what I mean? And a lot of stuff I agree with. And this in particular, I did agree with him. He said, you know, that cements Triple H as the booker of the year. 100%. CM Punk going back to WWE kind of could prove to be one of the final nails in the coffin that seals AEW's fate. And also, you know, AEW and Tony Khan are now going to have to watch what CM Punk does in WWE, which, you know, the WWE are already announcing numbers where this year is their best year ever in terms of, you know, revenue and bringing money in. And they've just signed CM Punk, who's one of the biggest money makers that wrestling has ever seen. Like I said before, not to sound like a broken record, and it could be bullshit, but if it's true, 20,000 predicted less tickets because they've not got Punk this year. That is insane. It's a quarter of what they sold.
And also as well, it was reported as well that AEW have had to change. I think they've had to change the days as well because of Taylor Swift. They wanted more dates for the Taylor Swift concert, and they wanted Wembley, and it meant AEW moving, and I think they've moved the dates around a bit. It was announced in the Daily Mail, I think.
Well, you know, Jim Cornette said that if you look at you know, Tony Khan got rid of CM Punk because of an incident that happened, you know, but this guy had been taking abuse and shit for months off the so-called AEW EVPs in Omega and the Young Bucks, so I really like, by the way. Yeah. But
well, you know, it's also worth noting that the Young Bucks had now been removed as MVPs. They're not MVPs at AEW anymore. So maybe that was a consequence of that. I don't know.
I don't know. But like, if you think of how that went down, people, it's too easy to say something's kicked off. Punk's somewhere in the vicinity of it. It's his fault, because that's what it seems to always be. An argument happens. If Punk's in the room when an argument happens, it's CM Punk's fault, and it isn't always the case. Sometimes it is, but I do think he's grown up and matured a lot and changed a lot over the last, 15 years. But I think this is just my opinion. For me, the reason why shit hit the fan in AEW was because Omega and Young Bucks were the main stars, really. They were the EVPs, and then CM Punk comes in. He's on 10 times more money than them. He's bringing in more money. He's getting bigger pops off the fans, and I think they were jealous. You know.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And we'll have to discuss this at the next one, which we'll do again this week. We'll do another podcast again this week, but we're going to cut it there. And let us know in the comments what you think. We're going to be back later on this week, but not a quick one. But I've been Kev.
I've been Dan. See you in a couple of days, guys.
Yeah, see you in a couple of days, guys. Take it easy.